All right, so what's your batting average on change? You're all leaders in this room. Clearly, a big part of your job is to make sure that you influence change. So have you ever had that meeting where you go in and you sit down with your employees and you talk about this change and you have the pep rally and you get them riled up, everyone's excited, yeah boss, let's do it, we got it, we're going. And then you leave and they start talking to each other and say, now, why are we doing this? And so then the change goes downhill from there, doesn't it? So if that's ever happened to you, I want to share with you just a simple 3-step formula that will allow you to really focus on the things that you need to focus on to make sure that that change gets implemented. Now, one of the first things and most important things about change is we typically focus on the activity that needs to change, right? You focus on here's what we need to do and here's how we're going to do it. But there's another side to the formula that if we don't spend enough time, and I want you to think about this like an old-fashioned water pump. You remember those water pumps back in the day? You'd have to crank on them for a while before the water actually came out and then you'd just get a little drip. Well, that's kind of like how change is for you. Gravity is your resistance from your audience. And you've got to fight that gravity to get that change going. But if you just work it a little bit and then you run and you get that bucket, you're going to have some troubles, aren't you? Because what's going to happen? That change is going to go right back where it came from and it's going to stop. So what is it that you actually need to pump in? It's these few things. Number one, you have to be able to share the vision. What is it going to look like when the change has taken place? And I mean share it in a way that anybody can understand it, even those who may be new to the organization. Okay, so you gotta really get that clear. Number two, and most important, because this is the one that I see people focusing on least, is we've got to share the why. Why is this change happening? Now, you may have worked with your executive teams and you spent 2 days in a strategic retreat and you figured out this change, but you fail to take what you learned there and bring it to the group. So let's make sure that you've really worked through in a way to communicate the why properly. Now, it may be that you have a dissatisfaction with the way things are now. But you know what? There may not be dissatisfaction, in which case you have to talk about what's wrong with the status quo. What happens if you stick with the status quo? What's the risk there? So make sure that you get your mind around the why and that you completely share that. And then, of course, the third part's the action plan. Make sure that you have a clear action plan with a who does what by when. Now, all of that is good, and that's the stuff you've got to pump, and you've got to keep consistently pumping for at least 30 days because you're dealing with changing people's habits. The other piece of it, though, is if you're going to really impact a big change, you need to figure out who in your organization are the influencers. And that doesn't necessarily have to do with authority level, does it? A lot of times your influencers are just all throughout the organization. Find them. Sell this to them. Put them on the change committee. But if you can influence the influencers, they're going to carry a lot of that heavy weight for you. So keep it consistent, focus on the why, share the vision, and get them into action. Stay consistent.